Good morning and welcome to You're 18, Now What? Thank you for joining me on this great Tuesday. I'm Dr. Catherine Gilstein, and I will be looking forward to empowering you with information about financial literacy and economic empowerment. I will continue to post on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, but depending on information that I get and people that I'm meeting, I will likely post more. I've connected with a lot of people for interviews, and today I have with me um, John Long, who is the co-founder of Think AI. And I know we've been talking about AI for a while on my podcast, and I just thought that he would be a great addition to using AI and getting into the weeds of it, especially in the workforce. So thank you, John, for joining me. Tell us a little bit about you and how you co-founded Think AI.
Yeah, well, first of all, good morning and thank you for having me, Catherine. Sure appreciate this opportunity and wish everybody a happy Tuesday.
Mhm.
Yeah, a little background on myself. So I grew up in Colorado, came here to Utah for college, and I've stayed.
Mhm.
Love living in the mountains, and so this is a wonderful place for me. Um, I I've been entrepreneurial my whole life, but I've had kind of two careers. Early on, I was very much entrepreneurial, owned a couple of different businesses, real estate investing, heating and air conditioning. And then I got into technology about 15 years ago
That's a
or so.
switch.
And
That's
yeah,
a
it was
huge switch.
there may be a story for us there to
Okay.
discuss. But got into technology about 15 years ago, specifically in sales for AI technology companies, SaaS companies. And I had the fortune of being able to sell to some of the largest companies in the world. And so my career stretches from literally selling to, mom and dad at the kitchen table, small businesses, all the way up to literally some of the largest companies in the world.
Wow.
And a couple of years ago, my business partner and I, who we had worked together at a couple of companies, said, you know what, it's time for us to do something on our own. Let's start something, and we started going down a path with a technology business. And as we were starting to grow that business, we said, we should use AI to help us with some of the things that we're trying to do. And so we looked for some AI tools to help us specifically in the sales side of the business. And we looked and looked and looked and looked. We interviewed all sorts of companies, looked at tools, and we never could find something that did what we really needed it to do, which was kind of help handle the pre-sales motion. And so then
Mhm.
we said, well, maybe we can try and build it. And so we started putting pieces together. And long story short, we ended up building a tool for us to use. And shortly after we got it up and running and we were using it, we said, oh my goodness, this tool is fantastic. Maybe we should sell this tool that we've built. And we ended up scrapping the other company and just going all in on AI. And that's what we've been doing now for about the past year.
Mhm. Smart decision, smart decision. AI is not going anywhere. I do tell that to everyone. And I think the biggest thing about AI is being able to use it effectively. And that's really what I want to get into the weeds of. So if we are talking to the younger generation that is, finishing school, getting their first job, or maybe in their first job in only a couple of years in their career, um, how can they use AI specifically for the workplace?
Well, I think in general, I'll talk generally, and then we'll get a little bit more specific, maybe.
Okay.
Um, and this is true for the younger generation entering the workforce, but certainly true for your and my generation as well, right? That
Mhm.
maybe has a little bit more time in the workforce, and that is, first of all, we can't shy away from technology, right?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and I think now we almost laugh at it, but if you met someone, they were like, "Oh, I don't have a cell phone. I just use my home phone line still." We we would all look at them like they were crazy, right? Like, how do you even
Yeah,
survive
how
in
could you
today's
be
world?
connected to anything? Yeah,
Yes, right.
that's crazy. Mhm.
And yet, when cell phones came out and they began to grow in popularity, there were many people that were like, "Oh, I don't want to be tied to a phone. I don't want to have to carry a phone with me everywhere. There's no way I'll even use it." And they had this
Mhm.
this perception that the technology was negative, or that it was interrupting their life. And I think there's a lot of people that still feel that way with AI. And so there's a lot of people that have kind of kept arm's length with AI. It's coming at us very quickly. We all have cell phones, and well, almost all of us. I guess there's the few that still have the landlines like we just discussed, but we all have cell phones, and it's just being baked in to our use of technology. So in many cases, we're being forced to use AI. But there's an interesting thing that happens when someone starts to use AI and really try to understand how to turn it into a tool. And it's really where we got the name of our business, Think AI. It comes from this shift that takes place. And that is, it's a mental shift. We literally start to look at things differently. We think about things differently. We approach the world and the way that we work or do differently. And so first and foremost, we should all be learning to understand how to use AI and have that mental shift take place, right? And I think for our younger generation, that's happening probably a little bit more naturally. They're not as opposed to technology. I have a son who's 17, so he's a year short of your target audience, right? He'll be 18 soon.
Well, and typically I do have a lot of 16 and 17-year-olds listening, and I'm also getting the parents of those students listening, which is really helpful. So never too early to start learning about savings and economics and all of that good stuff.
That's great. But those younger generations tend to lean into technology a little bit more quickly. I know my son, his first thought now is, well, let me check with ChatGPT. If there's a question, if there's an idea, if there's something he wants to learn. I think older generations, we tend to say, well, let me Google that, right? Or let me ask Alexa and see if she can tell me, or Siri. And the younger generations are now just saying, I'm just going to go straight to AI. Right. And so they're starting to lean.
They've grown up with technology. So they've had it at their fingertips their entire school years, whereas you and I did not. So we had to adapt to learning it where they were already there already. So definitely an easier shift for them.
Well, and I'm sure as an educator, you've had a bit of a growth curve that you've gone through as well.
Absolutely.
I know just a couple of years ago, the teachers were like, you cannot use AI on this assignment. And now my kids are coming home with assignments where it says you have to use AI to do this assignment. And I love that we're starting to recognize that it is here, and we need to teach ourselves, our younger generations, our older generations, how to use this tool.
I think that's the key is how to use it. And as an educator, I do encourage my students saying, hey, if you're going to use AI, cite the source that you're using, and then tell me if it's correct or not, because the information's not always correct. So try to find, reputable sources, AI sources, and then, compare and contrast the two. And I think it's a really great learning curve for them so that they can integrate AI and use it properly.
Yeah, and it is important to fact check, right? AI can have what we call hallucinations, where it makes things up. It takes a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it mixes it together and presents it as a fact. And so we do have to be careful. If you're using like a ChatGPT like program, you can ask it the same type of question 2 or 3 ways and see if you get the same information back, or you can use 2 or 3 programs to gather information and make sure that information is aligned. You can also ask it for references, provide me information, but send me the references so that I can, cross-check and fact-check to make sure that the information is accurate. So I think those are all important things to do. But in terms of, entering the workforce, there's a common saying. I don't even know for sure who said it. I think it maybe it was Sam Altman or somebody. And it was, AI is not going to take your job, but someone using AI will take your job.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that.
I like that statement, and I don't like that statement. I think that there is enough room for all of us to continue to be gainfully employed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that employers are going to expect all of us to know how to use the technology that's available. Just like, an employer expects someone to have a cell phone. I've done a lot of traveling and sales, and it was just an expectation that I had a cell phone and that people could get in touch with me while I was on the road. Same thing
Absolutely.
is now true with AI. There's an expectation that we should know how to use it, and there's some layers, some growth that takes place as you first dabble in AI. The progression that I've typically seen, and it'd be interesting to see what you've seen as an educator, but it usually starts with someone logging into ChatGPT or one of the other large language model programs similar to ChatGPT. And usually it starts with them asking some sort of totally inconsequential question, right? Like, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl next year? Or write me a silly poem, or tell me a joke. And they're kind of like, oh, wow, that actually gave me some pretty good information back. And then we start to take it a little bit more seriously, but maybe not like business serious. Like, hey, can you help me with a recipe for dinner tonight? Or can you help me understand how to do this project that I'm working on at home? And we start to slowly ratchet up the importance of what we're asking AI to help us with. And then it starts to creep into the workplace, right? Where it's like, well, help me write this email. Help me do a little bit of research on this topic so that I can, give a better report. Produce an image for me that I can use in a slideshow or a presentation. But it's, we've got our work processes here, and then AI kind of lives over here to the side. So it's like we'll pop out and use it and then come back to work, and then pop out and use it and then come back to work. And then what we're seeing as we work with our customers is AI is starting to move into work, where it becomes integrated into work. And it's no longer something that you're popping out to use and then copying and pasting things back in. It is just ingrained.
I think for the workplace, for efficiency standards, so there are some tools that you can use to streamline processes. And if you can do that, I think that's where people need to be using the AI in the workforce, is that if you can use it to streamline processes and be more efficient, be more effective, get things done quicker, I think that's very helpful.
I had an interesting visit just earlier today, in fact, with an owner of a SaaS company, another software company. And he mentioned to me that they, about 8 months ago, moved to using AI to help answer customer questions for customer support. And that last month, AI actually handled 85% of their customer questions. And so they had shifted from a full human workforce to now 85% done by AI. Now, there's some underlying stories there about, well, what happened to the people that were handling those 85%, and we didn't get into those details. My hope, though, is that as a business and as employees working within a business, if we have equipped ourselves to understand how to use AI, and we allow AI to take some of the kind of mundane, repetitive, busy work out of work, hopefully we're elevating ourselves and elevating those that work with us into higher, more important positions, right? We like to teach people that AI is really kind of like the Iron Man suit, right? You've got a Tony Stark who knows a lot about whatever their job is, but man, give them an AI sidekick, and it's like this Iron Man suit that suddenly allows them now to be able to fly and to do all sorts of things that they couldn't have done previously, and it really unlocks their potential as opposed to
I like that analogy,
cutting them out of the equation, right? And so that should be the hope and the goal and the focus of the listeners, is using AI to become a better version of themselves so that they have more to offer, as opposed to feeling like, I'm fighting against AI.
I'm being replaced, right?
Yes. So that's the focus that I think we should take as a society, really, is, we have the opportunity to use AI to elevate our economy, our society, the things that we do, the way that we spend our time, and lift us to a better place than we otherwise would have been able to be at. We have a saying in our business, and it is, business shouldn't interrupt life. And AI can help that, right?
Absolutely.
I owned a heating and air conditioning company many years ago, and I can't tell you how many times I stood up and walked away from my family at dinner time because the phone was ringing. And I was like, well, I need to answer it. That could be a job coming in. That could be a customer who's got no heat. That could be a whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah,
but
my
I wasn't
livelihood.
doing business to interrupt my life. And AI can certainly help take care of that.
Interesting. In your experience, do you think that there are any AI tools that are better than other ones to use, or
Ooh,
like
that's
with
a
your
good question.
experience?
So there's, I guess, let me take a step back, and I'm gonna give you my framework.
Okay.
You didn't ask for this, but I'm giving it to you anyway. I hope that's okay.
No, that's okay. No, perfectly fine. The background's always important. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have what I call my 3-bucket framework for AI. And I put AI into one of 3 different buckets, because AI, we talk about it as if it's this one thing. And the reality is there are quite literally millions of AI tools out there right now doing all sorts of different things, right?
And ever changing.
Yeah, and ever changing. And there's more added every day. There's probably been 100 new AI tools developed and shared since we started our conversation, right?
I would not doubt that. Absolutely.
Yeah, probably more than 100. So my 3 buckets are this. You've got the first bucket, which is the, I call it the party tricks bucket. This is the AI that does some cool things, but is somewhat useless in nature. Like it's a neat party trick, right? It's one of those things that you share with people and you all get a good laugh, and it doesn't change your life at all, but it's amazing what it can do. And there's a lot of those out there. The third bucket, and I know I'm skipping, I'll come back to the second bucket in a second.
I'm sure there's reasoning behind this.
Is the really highly specialized niche sort of AI, like the AI that's used in self-driving cars, right? Or something like that. The AI that controls the flaps on an airplane, or something like that, where it's really super highly specialized, and it's really good at doing the thing that it's designed to do, but it's not something that most of the humanity is ever going to use or interact with. It's way too specialized. So that gives us the second bucket, the one that sits in the middle. And this is the bucket of AI tools that are useful and helpful, but also not so specialized that you have to have like a doctorate degree to understand what it does, right? And I realize I'm visiting with a doctor, so maybe I shouldn't have used that example, but anyway. So that bucket is still really, really big, right? But there's a lot of AI tools out there that are really useful. Now, there's a number of different types of AI. There's machine learning, there's agentic AI, there's generative AI. For most of the listeners out there, when they think of AI, they're probably thinking of, Claude or ChatGPT or one of these what are called large language models, or LLMs. And that is a generative AI. It's a type of AI where you give something to AI and it gives something back to you. It's kind of like playing tennis, right? This back and forth game of something to AI returns it to me. Sometimes it's just one time back and forth. Other times we might go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Right, for more information, more clarity. Yep.
Yes. Now, the LLMs that are out there, and there's a number of them, almost all of them have multiple different models, right? So you can log into ChatGPT and then you can select which model you want to use, and different models have been trained to do different things. So some are really good at doing computer coding, right? And you'd want to use that specific model if you were trying to write code for something. Others are really good at generating conversational type of text. Others are great for generating video or audio or pictures, etc. And so your question was, which AI is the best? It depends on what you're trying to do, right? I'm definitely not going to use a party trick AI if I'm trying to build a self-driving car, right? But at the same time, I might log into an LLM and say, okay, I need to write an essay for a economics class, and I might choose one model, and I might log into the same LLM and say, oh, now I need to write code for a website or for a new app that I'm designing, and I might use a different model. I personally use ChatGPT a lot. I've used it for years. It knows me really, really well. It understands me, my family, my business, my beliefs, the way I approach life. And so it allows me to interact with it really, really easily.
I'm guilty of that one too.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah.
Yes,
and it's amazing.
I am. I've been using it for, oh my gosh, for a while. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I will use other tools if we're trying to write some code. I'm usually in Claude. Perplexity just recently rolled out Perplexity Labs, and I think it's going to give ChatGPT a little bit of a run for the money.
Okay.
Google, has some fantastic things that are getting just baked in to Chrome and to Gmail and things like that. So there's a lot of different tools, but I would say
that's the Gemini platform, correct?
Case. Yeah. What with those models though, the biggest differentiator in terms of the outputs is the prompt that you write, that you give to the AI tool to get back whatever it is you're looking for. And one of the things that I think surprises a lot of people, and this is kind of basic stuff, but if you're new to AI, this is important to know. Use AI to help you write the prompt for AI, right? You can go into your ChatGPT and explain what it is you're trying to do. I was visiting with a friend of mine yesterday who called me and said, hey, John, I'm trying to figure out how to do something with AI. Can you help? Yeah, oh, sure. And I get a lot of those calls, right?
I'm sure. Yep.
And I basically said, hey, you need to go to ChatGPT and ask it a whole bunch of questions about what you're trying to accomplish. And then after you've done that, then say, okay, now write a prompt for me to put into ChatGPT to run a deep research project to go really deep in this area. And I said, use it to help you write the prompt, and you'll be taken care of. And so that's a little tech tip, I guess you might say, for people that are kind of new and dabbling and getting involved. But read those prompts that it writes, and then you'll start to think in the way of AI. And
I like the way ChatGPT does that. That if I ask it something, it'll give me information and then ask me, do you want to know more about this, this, or this? And I'm like, no, can you tell me more about this?
Yeah.
And like you said, like ChatGPT has gotten to know me, so
yeah,
we're friends.
Do you use the voice feature at all, where you just talk to it?
I do not. I don't use the voice feature. Does it
Catherine,
make it so much easier?
Oh, you're gonna love this. So, yeah, you can, if you have the app, the ChatGPT app on your cell phone. I think you can even do it online now. But you can click the little voice button, and then you can just have a conversation with it. I regularly do that when I'm driving. I'll pull up ChatGPT, and if I'm on my way to an appointment with a new customer or something like that, I'll say, hey, what can you tell me about this business? And I'll have a 5, 10, 20-minute conversation about whatever topic, and it'll fill me in. My sister called me a month or so ago and said, hey, my dog is really sick. Do you mind coming down and just taking a look at it? I'm like, I'm not a vet. I have no idea what to look at. So I pulled ChatGPT up on my way and said, hey, this is what's going on with my sister's dog. What should we be looking for, and what should we do? And by the time I got there, 10 or 15 minutes later, I knew enough to help out.
You're a doctor.
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But it is, and I think the more people embrace it, I think the easier it will become to use. I mean, I remember doing dial-up for the internet and just waiting for the internet to come up to find something, and it
Yeah.
took forever. And now it's just so quick, so fast at your fingertips. And the only constant is change, and technology is changing all the time. AI is changing all the time. To your earlier point, they've probably come up with 100 or 1,000 new AI things just today alone. Um, but I think being able to use it efficiently and effectively for what you're trying to do, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think it's just going to be helpful. It's,
Yeah.
kind of like when we got shut down as an institution during COVID and had to flip all of our courses to online. Um, I was perfectly fine. I had everything up in Canvas. I was ready to go, let my class know everything is good to go, everything's going to be done. And I felt bad for the older professors that were at the institution. And they were like, oh my God, what do I do now? And I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, online learning did not start in 2020. Online learning started 25 years ago. So if
Yeah.
you didn't embrace it at that point in time, you're missing the boat.
Yeah. You're in trouble. You're in
Yeah.
trouble.
So I think it's important that as new technology comes about, familiarize yourself with it. Do you have to use it? No. But if it's there and you can use it, I think the most important thing is familiarizing yourself with it and being able to find the AI tools that are going to be helpful for yourself, your business, your job, or whatever the case may be.
I do think you have to be careful though with AI
Hmm.
because it is becoming so ultra realistic. Every once in a while, you have to remind yourself that you're talking to a computer, right?
Yes.
And a couple of things to be careful about. One, um, you can develop a relationship with your Chat GPT persona, right? And it's not a real person. It feels
Hmm.
a lot like it because you can have conversations, you can go back and forth, it will ask you
Hmm.
questions, it'll give you answers, it'll do a lot of the things that a person does, but it's not a real person, right? It does
Right.
not have feelings, it does not have
Hmm.
emotions. It literally is just regurgitating things that it's heard from other places and sharing those with you. The other thing that you have to be careful about is that, particularly with the LLMs, they tend to be very complimentary, right? And you've probably seen this with your Chat GPT. You might
Hmm.
ask it a question, and then it comes back like, "Oh,
Hmm.
Catherine, that's a fantastic question," and I think that
Hmm.
the
Always the positive spin. Yes.
oh yeah, like wow,
Yes. Always the
you're a
positive
genius for
spin.
even
Yes.
thinking of this
Hmm.
question. And really, it's kind of like looking in the magic mirror, and mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the best in the world? And it's me, it's
Hmm.
me, it's
Of
me,
course.
right? And so we have to be really careful that we're not allowing ourselves to get into I don't know if delusional seems a little bit strong, but certainly not 100% based on
Hmm.
reality types of thoughts. With
Absolutely. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's knowing the parameters, understanding the parameters of what AI is, what it can do, what it can't do.
Mhm.
So, to all those things that you just mentioned, no feelings, no emotions, nothing like that. There are,
Yeah,
strict parameters to really familiarize yourself with before using any of those. And then, of course, going back to the fact checking, making sure, because if 10 people tell it this is so, then when the 11th person asks, it's going to say this is so, but then that's not correct.
yeah. So we
So,
actually have to be
mhm.
careful about that with what we do. So our company provides AI communication agents for businesses. So these are
Okay.
AI agents that can make and receive phone calls, send and receive text
Hmm.
messages, emails. They can hold meetings. They can schedule meetings. They can do a lot of really cool things, right? But at their heart, they're designed to help represent the business that they're working for. And we have a lot of people that will ask us and say, "Oh, so do they get better over time?" And the answer is yes, sort of, right? And they kind of go, "Well, what do you mean, sort of?" I said, well, we have to be really careful about who and what we allow to train the AI. Because if I
Hmm.
have a company that sells widgets and a customer calls up and says, hey, I'm interested in your widgets, and talking to the AI, and that customer says, oh yeah, this other company over here, one of our competitors, right? This other company, oh, their widgets are way better. And my AI learns that company X's widgets are way better because
Right.
of a phone call. And all of a sudden now it's answering the phone. Thanks for calling ABC Widget Company, where X company's widgets are way
YZ
better.
is better. Oh
Right?
my gosh.
We have to be
Yes.
really careful. So yeah,
Mhm.
you have to be cautious about, where the training comes from and those sorts of things. But it's a fantastic tool. AI is a fantastic tool. It's changing the way that people do things.
Mhm.
Our mission for our company is to save humanity billions of hours by helping people do better work and less busy work. And that's what drives us, is help us return hours to people's lives that they can
Right.
spend doing the most important things, right? This
Mhm.
idea of, me as a young father 15 plus years ago, standing up and walking away from my family night after night because my phone was ringing and I didn't want to miss a business opportunity.
Of
Um,
course.
like those should
Mhm.
be experiences of the past, right? That's going to be
Mhm.
like the old landline that hangs on the wall. Like, oh, remember when people used to have to actually do that? And
Yes.
now we can be
Mhm.
present, we can be focused,
Mhm.
and we can do the things that are most important because we have
Mhm.
technology that's helping us do that busy work, the grunt work, the stuff that nobody really wants to do. That's like the life draining, life sucking work. Awesome. We
Mhm.
can let technology handle that, and we can elevate humanity to do better things.
I think that's great. Looking through your website, I was looking through the about and the services and stuff. And anything else that you want to add to the AI conversation? Anything you think we missed or
Um,
you want to highlight?
no, I think the biggest thing is dive in.
Mhm. Mhm.
Dive in and start playing with it. You're not going to mess anything up. Have fun. Be amazed at what it can do. If any of your listeners out there are wanting an AI agent, this is a little different than
Mhm.
LLM. This is an agent that kind of can act on its own, that can help
Mhm.
with business communications, whether it's sales, marketing, customer
Mhm.
service, accounting, even HR type work. Please reach out to us. They can find us on our website, think.ai, THYNK. So it's spelled differently, think differently, right?
Oh, it is spelled differently.
THYNK.ai. Yeah, we'd love to help anybody that we can.
Yes, absolutely. John, thank you so much for being here, for joining me. Like John said, if you need anything AI, it's Think AI, THYNK. And no matter where you are in your career, I do work with people that are just starting out and those that are settled. So be open to learning, be open to listening, ask questions. What more do you want to know? Visit my website at your18nowwhat.com and drop me a line, send a question or a comment. Any questions received will be responded to via the email or addressed on the next podcast. Remember, be invaluable for what you share, not what you know. See you next time on Your 18 Now What? And be sure to visit my website where you could always find the latest podcast episode to listen to, follow, share, and subscribe. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me, John. And I appreciate all of you.